What's going on, everybody? It is your boy Zamboni. I'm a musician and astrologer, and it is time to talk about the astrology of the week ahead. As always, thank you so very much for being here. Thank you for going to ZamboniPhone.com, where you can find some music, you can find a podcast, you can get astrology readings, you can get an hour-long reading where we talk back and forth, you can get a 10-minute reading where I talk to the camera like this. I've been doing a bunch of those recently, and people have been finding them super useful. So thank you so much for doing that if you're one of those people. And if you want to get on the train, it is not too late. ZamboniPhone.com is the place for that. Thank y'all so much for being here with me. Let's talk about the astrology of the week ahead. This week so the sun is going to move into Cancer, or not into Cancer, out of Cancer into Leo this week. That is cute. And I want to like the sun in Leo. The sun is at home in domicile in Leo, is very good at doing the sun things sunnily from that position. The thing about the sun in Leo this time is that we are going to get an opposition to Pluto and Aquarius. First thing, before anything else happens, we're going to see that, so Pluto is at 0 degrees of Aquarius, and so sun is going to move in and get that opposition to Pluto and Aquarius, right? So if we're thinking about the sun, we're thinking about eminent figures, we're thinking about figureheads and heads of state and this kind of thing, powerful people, famous faces, all that sort of thing. And in opposition to Pluto and Aquarius, Pluto, of course, is the funhouse mirror, the distortion, the things that are like the seedy underbelly, and the things that are like kind of weird, and there's a lot of jealousy and obsession and all that sort of stuff, right? A lot of power dynamics get involved with Pluto, especially hidden power dynamics, like strings, invisible strings getting pulled, all that sort of stuff, right? So to see the sun making an opposition to Pluto is interesting, because we saw the sun in Aries getting eclipsed. So the sun in Aries is exalted, right? That's the other power position for the sun in the zodiac, is in Aries. And so when the sun was there, then we saw an eclipse happen, and so that was like darkening the face of the normally bright sun there in Aries. That's like a big deal when your job is to shine brightly, and then there's a shadow. Then it's like, oh, okay. And this is like the power position. This is the place where you're really good at shining brightly, right? And then that doesn't happen. And then now we move into a Leo and get this opposition to Pluto and Aquarius. And again, immediately, as soon as the sun is in power, then we are in a position where there's some kind of distortion to that power, where things get like a little gross or weird in some kind of way. The power doesn't feel as either powerful or exciting as it's the kind of like you get the power, and then they take you in the back room and they tell you how you're really going to operate, this kind of thing, right? So it's so there's that, right? Then the other thing that's happening here is Mars is moving into Gemini. So Mars has been in Taurus for a while and has been hanging out with Uranus there in Taurus. This is the Mars and Taurus, Mars Uranus situation looked like an assassination attempt on the former president of the United States. It has been a bunch of other sort of jarring and difficult things as well. So to see Mars moving away from Uranus, I'm not mad at that. But once Mars moves into Gemini, then this complicates things for Jupiter in a really big way. So Jupiter has been in Gemini, just kind of brightening things up, bringing a little bit of buoyancy, a bit of good luck, a bit of expansion to the area of Gemini. And so whatever's going on in your chart in Gemini, that stuff has been seeing some kind of like a little bit of a boost, right? Which has been helpful, because the Gemini stuff has been under a square from Saturn in Pisces for a year and a half. And so to get some of this buoyancy from Jupiter is cute, and we like to see it. The thing about it now is that Mars moving in brings some stress, some inflammation. Mars is the planet of conflict, of tension, of running things hard or ragged in some kind of way. Sometimes, so to see Mars moving into Gemini puts Mars into a square with Saturn in Pisces. And so we're not going to see that square become exact for quite some time. I think we're 3 weeks away from it, 4 weeks, something like this, like a little while. And then when that happens, that's actually going to be Mars conjunct Jupiter and square to Saturn in Pisces at the same time. And by the time we get there, then Venus is going to be in Virgo also, completing a little T-square here. So it looks like quite a lot in that moment. And it looks like a moment where we are now at this point where we actually are right now, sort of in a moment where we are moving into confusion. We are moving into a kind of fog, a sense of like, what is even going on around here? And so the information doesn't make sense. The information it's like hard to put things together. It's like, how could this even be possible? Like that sort of thing. Looks like it wants to turn into a sort of madness and chaos, right? That is building from where we are until we get to that point where Mars in Gemini makes this square to Saturn in Pisces in a few weeks. So we are beginning that process now. So while that happens, what's also interesting here is that Mercury, who is currently in Leo, making a square to Uranus and Taurus. So like this looks like it wants to be some kind of like liberation words, could be cute there. But like we also might think about words that break things, or words that come out of left field or come from an unexpected place that could disrupt things in some sort of way. But then from there, Mercury is going to move into Virgo. Typically, we like to see Mercury in Virgo. Mercury is very strong in Virgo. Mercury is in exaltation there in Virgo, as well as ruling that place. This is a very comfortable area for Mercury to be. But Mercury is slowing down. And so we are getting to a point where we are coming into a Mercury retrograde, right? So Mercury, the planet of communication and transportation and idea transmission, all the trans things, all the like in between here and there, transfer, transaction, all that sort of stuff looks like Mercury things. We can think about tech and this kind of thing. Oh, tech disruptions. Let's talk about Microsoft and CrowdStrike and whatever, with Mercury and Taurus squared to Uranus, or Mercury and Leo squared to Uranus and Taurus, right? Like tech disruptions, that sort of thing. But and Mercury slowing down, so like the communication bit isn't happening as well as you might like it to. This week, Mercury is going to move into Virgo and keep on slowing down. As Mercury moves into Virgo, then we get a pretty close square to Mars in Gemini, but it doesn't actually perfect because Mercury is slowing down, eventually going to turn retrograde. So while all of the confusing stuff is taking place with Mercury, or with Mars and Jupiter in Gemini. Jupiter is like a very talky kind of narrative building kind of sign. Jupiter tends to be sort of like big picture wisdom, like what is the whole thing that we could see here, and what can we learn from it? What's the meaning of all of this, right? That kind of thing. That being kind of like ground into dust a little bit, like turning on in some kind of like major way, and looks very stressful. That square to Saturn in Pisces, right? Like looking like there's a drag on the system in some kind of way. Maybe things are like a little slower than you want them to be, and all that sort of stuff. And then Mercury moving into Virgo, looking confused and has to turn around and go backwards for a little while, and all of this. So it looks like a period of time where things are becoming less clear than they were before. So this makes me think about getting comfortable with a certain amount of uncertainty. If you know where a couple of things are, but that's not enough to get to your ultimate destination, then it might be worth putting those things that are certain down for a second, and then stepping into a kind of uncertainty and trying brand new things out, things that are unrelated to the data set that you already have. You know that data is good. Leave that there for a moment and sit in this space of uncertainty and working with things that you don't know at all. Maybe you can learn something over there that could be useful if you were to reintroduce it to the data set that you already have. That kind of thinking might be the sort of thing that we can get good benefit and achievement from, even though the information right now is wild. And so there's not likely to be a linear explanation for A causes B causes C. That sort of thing, probably not going to happen.